Yo, where are you, buddy?
You just want to go grab a drink.
Okay.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world it didn't exist.
Hey,
Ooh. Welcome to the live
live stream of consciousness. Yes, we are here. What's happening, buddy?
doing. How is everybody?
How's everybody doing? Good to see you guys out there.
I'm
Welcome to the
imagining
live
your
stream.
voices. No, wait, I'm looking at comments now. You guys are so awesome. If we don't say it every week, I mean, it's amazing. You know, we come into this show, we click on the comments, and there's just this stream, a live stream of conscious thoughts and people catching up with each other, and it really is just so heartening, you know, as opposed
What's
to
up, Ninja? What's up, Taylor? It is
Yeah,
heartening. It's great to have a little bit of a community going and to see everybody's faces slash icons in the little chat, whatever it might be.
I am a little uncomfortable sitting in my chair. I'm trying to get myself comfortable. I've been working out, and I'm feeling actually really wonderful.
Looking very buff, yes.
Thank you. I'm feeling really, really good. And
Nice.
nice thing. But I kind of just pulled my lower back. There's been a little bit of a problem for me, and I literally just had to take a nap in the middle of the day because my lower back was driving me so crazy.
All right.
I haven't been able to chill out, so forgive me.
Well, we just had a great conversation on a podcast of a friend of mine, Mind Dog TV. His name is Matt Napo.
And he's going for the world record.
He's going for the world record longest continuous podcast. He started this morning.
How much more time he had to go? Do you know?
He started this morning. He's a guy who I knew about 15 years ago in the music scene. We did some video. We were ahead of our time. We actually did a podcast way back then. And I just saw him. He was doing a show and he was interviewing a mutual friend. And I caught the episode and I'm like, wow, he's back at it. And he became my morning drive. He does a show at 9 a.m. And so that's when he started this morning at 9. And he's been going ever since. And that was a great conversation. They loved to hear what we had to say.
Yeah, it really was. They were very engaged. You know, my girl Julie, she asked me. She was like, I felt like there was sort of like voices that were, kind of anti what you were saying. And I said to her, I said, no, I said actually, there were personalities that were not necessarily inclined to what
Right.
we were saying, but
Right.
I found that they were completely engaged and very interested
Definitely.
what we had to say. So
Yeah.
it was wonderful, and I'm really grateful to be over there. And
Yeah.
it's funny, I just see in the comments over here about Taylor says she's planning to watch Encanto later. Encanto
Oh,
was the Disney movie that got released. It didn't do very well in theaters.
I heard it was amazing.
It's amazing.
I
It's
gotta check it out. Yeah, I heard it was really amazing.
like, what if the X-Men were just one family and there was one character who didn't have any special powers like the rest of the X-Men? And,
Wow.
and I think that really sort of invokes, a
Oh,
notion.
good story. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's wonderful. And, it's funny, it's a musical, and, honestly, as a music guy, um, I was a little underwhelmed by the music, but there's a couple songs in there that are really wonderful.
Mhm.
But larger than the music, the story is just great. The movie is wonderful, and my kids are running around the house singing the "We Don't Talk
Signature
About
song.
Bruno" song because it's so evocative and wonderful. So I highly recommend Encanto because there's a lot of wonderful spiritual messages in there.
Cool.
And yeah, I'm really excited. Did I cut my hair, Jesse? It looks good. Oh no, thank you. I just got myself my trim. My hair's been growing out on the top, and I do this thing where I like to cut it down to a one on the sides. So thank you very much for noticing. I'm trying. It's funny. This really gets into a little bit of a spiritual conversation. My mother is this beautician. She is somebody that the way she views her own personal value is in beautifying of,
Visual, yeah.
yeah, visually. She's like,
Mhm.
what can I do to help you be more beautiful? But as a child living within that system, oh man, did my free will want to resist that.
Mm.
She wanted to bleach my hair. She wanted me to do all these different things. Like, I got a nose job. Granted, it was part of it. Part of it was because I'd broken my nose.
Right.
Uh, you know, it was driven by her idea of sort of perfection. And
Right.
like when she would sit and do my makeup, she would draw black lines, sort of like just to thin my
Contour. Yeah,
nose,
contour
and
you.
then
Yeah.
she would blend them in so my
Yeah.
nose would look smaller. So I got all the wrong messages about this. I started to think like how I looked wasn't good enough, and I
Right,
needed
right.
to sort of, blend into this idea
Yeah.
of beauty that she had. But you know, it was her way of loving the universe, her way of sort of
Yeah.
conforming to the collective consciousness
Well,
that was
now you're seeing it that way. Now
for,
you're seeing it that way.
and now I am,
Right,
but it was her way of blending into what people wanted.
right.
And for me, I was always about like, I don't want to look like anything. I just want to be an idea. I want to be the right idea. I don't want to
Right,
be
right,
an,
right, right,
a
right.
visual.
You're just a beautiful collection of issues.
Yeah. But, well, and that's the thing that it comes to, at the end of the day, it sort of comes to this idea of like, we're all beautiful and
Exactly,
how do
exactly.
we
And
all
you understand those things. Yeah.
yeah, how do we all find our way to feeling beautiful?
You're also one of the most compassionate, loving people I know. So,
Yeah. Well, and I've got a girlfriend. Thank you for saying that, Michael. I
yeah.
appreciate it. But I've got this girl, my girlfriend Julie, she thinks I'm the most beautiful guy in the universe. And if I'm being honest, I know that my ex-wife Patty, she really believed that I was the most beautiful boy, even though she didn't necessarily want to like touch me all the time, which was something that was very important to
Well,
me.
you don't have to get no personal. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But like, like that idea, I would tell her forever. I'm just like, you can say these things, but
Right. You express it in a different way. Right, right, right.
yeah,
I totally get that.
I
Yeah.
don't always feel it. And and it's funny because it's like, what look, uh,
We all want to be
you know,
desired.
people, yeah, so people can compliment me, and that's all well and good, and I really do appreciate it. I'm like, but everybody's got their own sort of view, and I think their
Yeah.
view kind of comes from their parents, who they loved when they were a child, and
Right,
sometimes that who they loved when they were a child, the popular idea wouldn't necessarily be that these people are the
right.
most beautiful people in the world, but who you loved as a child
Oh,
Because
Angela says we're all tiles in an amazing art piece. That's awesome. I
exactly,
love that.
exactly. And and we're all sort of meant to be appreciated. That's really what I've come to. It's like
There you go. All right.
everybody's got
Awesome.
got a face that is meant to be appreciated by some.
Yeah, you when we went on the show, you heard Jamie. He was all appreciative of my beard. He's like, "Yo, man, nice
Yeah.
beard." I was like, "There you go."
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly. It doesn't matter who you are, and it's really the reason why to relinquish that ego, and at the same time, sort of retain that ego that you are meant to be appreciated by somebody. By maybe more, maybe less. It doesn't matter, But you are beautiful. You
right,
are just a part of this collective shape.
right, right.
It's just there's sort of a shape.
Taylor says, "People always say I look as beautiful as my mother. Looking in pictures, I can see their point." So that's an important point. So Taylor, what you're saying in that sentence is you don't see it, but everybody else does. People are telling you, and you're seeing it in the photos, but you're not seeing it outside of the photos. Look at yourself in the mirror. Forget about the photos.
I recently, and today's episode, we're
And
going to be
I
talking
did
about.
not get your photo. Sorry, Angela is asking me if I got the photos. Go
Well,
ahead, sir.
today we're going to be talking about meditation and getting into a little bit. We're going to do a little guided meditation. But in my recent meditation, I had this really amazing realization about um, the way energies connect and sort of the way the original energy connected. The the original energy is this. What's the word? The oblivion, the godly oblivion.
Right.
And from godly oblivion, which we might just turn into a circle, we get a godly consciousness. And from that consciousness, we get the Viveka Pisces. And the Viveka Pisces is two circles. I don't know if I can kind of make this shape.
Oh, wow.
It's two circles that sort of connect together. Yeah, Michael's doing a better job. And they just sort of
Just
barely touch. But from these two touching circles, we get
not a
the
better job.
first straight line. We get the two places where the two circles touch. And from that,
Oh, you
the
know
two
what? I could
places where the two circles touch, we get a line. We get a line. And this line is sort of the metaphor for every sort of connection of perspective that you will ever get. Here's this perspective, here's that
spell
perspective.
it.
We're connected. The Viveka Pisces, it's like V E. Pisces is probably easier to spell.
Got it.
Pici. Viveka
I
Pisces.
just want to bring up a. I'm going to
V.
bring up a. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, it'd be great if we can get this straight.
Mhm.
Because like when you look at one of the things in the universal laws class that I used to teach was the five platonic solids. And we get into the five platonic solids, where the first one comes from the triangle. And the triangle leads to the pyramid. And then the pyramid leads to the cube. And then the cube leads to other things. But before all of these platonic solids, you got the Viveka Pisces. So we're looking here, right? Look at the top of this shape. You see where these two shapes connect. There's a cross, right? And then where these two shapes connect at the bottom, there's another cross. So
Mhm.
these 2 points, they make the first straight line. And that straight line is really sort of the number two, the two. If we're looking at one, you can look at that as a circle. And if you're looking at two, you can think of that as its separate circle. But when these two circles connect, it makes a straight line, the straight line where these two circles connect. And this is very important for all things. This is sort of like here's my perspective, and I'm looking at you, and I'm projecting my circle into your circle, and you are projecting your circle into my circle. It's a real metaphor for what's going on every day as we intersect with different people. And we may intersect with people that inspire us. We may intersect with people, and Michael and I, when we came together, our two circles were like, "Oh, hey, I'm looking into my own circle. This is an aspect of my circle, and I understand it."
Mhm.
Sometimes people are looking into a circle, and they're looking at something they don't quite understand, and that's okay. But to understand that essentially different circles are protruding on each other. We're protruding on each other, and then we're looking into a system that we may not understand because we're all one,
Mhm.
but we're all a unique mathematical equation. Those of you who are electricians and those of you who are people who study math in any capacity, they understand how many really unique mathematics there are in the world. If you're looking at pi, or you're looking at all of these whole numbers that can't be divided in various ways, these are all the ways in which we are unique. And when we get into a circle with another being that is a different, mathematical equivalent to us, that we might really sort of bump up against the energy of what they're talking about. You know, it's just sort of the nature of reality. We are all unique. And it's easy for Michael and I to connect because we're kind of close on whatever level in our mathematics. But
Mhm.
there may be people that you come into contact who are not close in your
Right.
mathematics. And you have to understand that they're just coming from a different place. And ultimately, the way reality is born from the single circular um, what do you call it? The unconscious,
The one.
the one thing that is not conscious, the oblivion, right?
Right.
When we go from being this oblivion to being a conscious version of oblivion, right? Look how far that is really from the oblivion. There's the oblivion, and then there's the I'm awake, I'm thinking about things.
Mhm.
And then we all sort of expand out. If you see a cell divide, a cell division, it looks very similar to that thing. Michael was doing a better job of it than me. But this idea where we're kind of connected, but ultimately there's a bigger part of us that's away from the thing. That's what's going on.
Right.
All
Angela says, "Is it weird to say I really don't understand a lot of the science things, but I understand energy?" Of course, it's not weird to say that at all. We work on energy, but we were talking about some things, and I feel like I'm starting to realize that my mission, my purpose is to talk about these things just in a way that lights it up for other people. Like they're like, "Oh shit, that's how easy it was." So one of the things that you're talking about each one of us is the circle, and we go into other circles. We were talking about that earlier as the model was the ocean, right? So the ocean is this thing. We can look at the ocean as one thing, right? It's a thing by itself, but it's also the individual drops. So you pull out a drop from the ocean with an eyedropper, and now all of a sudden it's separate. It's this individual thing. It still was a part of the ocean physically at one point. It's still a part of the ocean. It's just not physically connected. And then you put it back and it's part of the ocean. To expand that a little bit, as far as like being with the people in your frequency, well, the ocean flows, all of those drops that are on the surface of the ocean, they're flowing around together, they're going through their currents, but they'll never go so deep down to the bottom of the ocean where these other drops are, experiencing something completely different. There's no light down there, it's cold down there, whatever the physical circumstances. I'm talking in a physical term now,
I
but they
want you to
exist as
see if
part of the same thing.
I'm gonna interject for 2
Yeah,
seconds.
yeah,
If anybody who's ever boiled a pot of water, you see, just like look into the pot of water and you'll see these bubbles on the bottom. And eventually when it gets to a certain temperature, the bubbles start to rise,
yeah.
right? But not all the bubbles can rise at once. One bubble, and then the next one, and then the next one. It's a cooperative pattern that brings them to the surface. And it's just one more metaphor to talk about what Michael's talking about.
Mathematics, the mathematics of it all. Yeah. I mean, I feel like again these the conversations that you and I have had just at home on the couch to evolve into this platform where we have a show and we talk to other people. Man, it's just been so. You talked about resonate. People don't talk about resonance. It's been lighting me up. It's my happy place. Not only have I found it to be my happy place, but I was like, holy shit! I created this we created this broadcast, which is a specific time every week, and it's something that I look forward to. And I created that with my own intentions, and now I'm in that moment. That's why you always see me smiling so much when we're here, and it's like it exists now in infinity. We've created this moment, and now it exists forever.
See,
Stephen Durante is here. What's up, Stevie?
hey,
Good to
Steve.
see you, my friend.
I love what you just said because, like, it really just sort of demonstrates that duality of you and I, and I like I'm absorbing your energy because I've tended to, in my life, in general, I've tended to sort of want to project a certain notion of myself.
Hmm.
And when I can't rise to that notion, I disappear. I quell
Right,
myself
right, right.
down. But it is so wonderful to be able to come to this thing. And honestly, like, going on to the little show to promote our thing, you
Hmm.
know, when we sit here and you and I come together, it's like, oh man, there are these conscious people, and like, I just want to be one of the conscious people. When we go on to that show, I go, oh man, most of us are unconscious.
Right.
Most of us are having a really hard time with
Right,
this thing.
right.
And
Well,
not so
it's
much
interesting.
us.
What's up, Courtney? It's interesting because I watch Matt, and like I said, he's become kind of my morning drive listen, and he is a really spiritual guy. He gets a lot of it, but
Not wrong.
he fights himself. You know what I mean? He does, and he talks about how he's got this miserable attitude. He talks about how he's waiting for the asteroid to hit the Earth. Basically, he's like, "I'm ready." He's like, and I completely understand where he's coming from, but there's a part of me that feels like he must be suffering a little bit for feeling that. You know what I mean? Like, but
Yeah.
maybe he doesn't. Maybe that's just he's to me. He seems like a very comfortable guy. He does seem happy in his own ways, but listen, it makes me appreciate the fact that there are different ways to be. Right?
There's no arrogance in what I'm saying here. It's really just appreciation and gratitude.
Hmm.
But the conversation that we're having every week is a much higher conversation than most people are having. And and honestly, like, I
Can I
hope.
say something about that before?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It
Absolutely.
is. I understand what you're saying, that it's higher in awareness and stuff, but even saying that, I feel like, is putting judgment on the people who aren't. Listen, maybe it's just me coming to this more level of unconditional and not judging people. We didn't get to talk about it with Matt, but there's an interesting thing that he said. He had a show on, and we had a conversation. I had called into his show, and I said something about, I don't get I don't get angry or hate Nazis. I feel more compassionate for them. I feel like something made them that way, right? And this is what we were talking about. And he said that was interesting because he had done a show called, oh, this is what it was that I forgot that I wanted to talk to him about. He had done a show called Forgiving Hitler. And we talked a little bit about that and the idea of that, right? And then my friend Sunshine, our friend Sunshine, friends of the show Sunshine, who may be out there, she told me that she was doing a meditation with her goddess group. So a bunch of women were doing a meditation, and one of these women channels different consciousnesses, and Hitler came through. She was channeling Hitler, and they all sat around and forgave him.
The idea that
Is that
Hitler thought he was doing the right thing is a very difficult idea for people to connect with. And,
absolutely
one of the biggest things when you work with plant medicine is about these taboos. There's so many taboos,
right?
but the idea of Hitler was just human like you and I,
Mhm.
and that he was interpreting the system that he was in, and he went, based on the system that I'm in, this, and sort of to forgive that person for interpreting the system that way is a
Mhm.
very powerful thing, and that's basically, like, look,
Mhm.
when it comes to all these things, it's like to really appreciate any given system is to take a sort of this neutral approach where you're able to um, arrogantly go, I see that this is better than this other system
Right.
that I was
Right,
in
right, right. No,
because
no, I understand, yeah.
it's less judgmental than the previous system.
And right, right, right. And also, I will say you're right, because there are things that I say, "Well, you know what? This isn't what I believe or what I think, it's what I know." And
Yeah,
that's even kinda judgmental, like, "Well, I know and you
and
may not," but
righteousness,
right,
righteousness, like seriously, like when you
sure. Oh, there
become
she is, Sunshine's here, she said, "Everyone has
Hey,
trouble."
sunshine, how's it going? But like that idea of righteousness, it's very easy to sort of be like, oh man, I'm being righteous. But at the same time, there's like this balanced view of righteousness. A balanced view of righteousness says that I'm attempting to be as understanding as I can possibly be to the various perspectives that there are because I recognize that they're all me.
Mhm,
And whatever perspective I may come to is just part of this secular perspective
mhm.
that exists within all the things based on the various places, the
The
mathematics,
perspectives of it all, yeah, yeah.
yeah, that it may come to. So,
Go ahead.
to bring that forth, um, and it is an important thing to sort of be balanced
Mhm.
in your view of the thing. Uh, but that's it. Jordan Peterson speaks about the notion. I love Jordan Peterson, by the way, of understanding what drives a person to do heinous things. Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for bringing this forth. This is the idea, like at the end of the day, a pedophile. It's like if I kill the pedophile, all I'm doing is sending that pedophile into the next life, essentially.
I never thought of it that way, that's
I'm
funny.
making
I'm
a
just putting him back
baby,
out on the streets
yeah,
in a
right.
different
I'm
body.
sending a baby the notion to be a pedophile because instead of reconciling this energy
Oh, that's great.
and giving
I
it
love
somewhere
that.
to go,
Right.
I've instead ended the pedophile.
And you put it back into the system.
But I just put it back into the system into a
Yeah, that's
and
that's so cool. You come up with some
when
cool
you
stuff,
really understand this sort of oneness of like, well, where's that energy gonna go?
right?
It's gonna go back into the system, and
Right.
then back into the system, and then eventually here
And
we are with it
that's
now.
the idea of the unresolved issues of families and generations,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
the father hitting the kids for, "Oh, that's the way it's done," and you grow up that way until one generation suddenly says, "Wait a second, I can love my kids, and here's the result," like, it's a much different result than if I beat my kids.
I wanna say about Jordan Peterson in particular, I
Okay.
I adore Jordan Peterson. Um, I really believe that he is, and it's funny because Jordan is not me.
I'm not familiar
He's
with
a
Jordan's.
he's a non-spiritual version of me. I
Okay.
am, an agnostic sort of atheist, and I, wanna move the conversation forward. Ben Shapiro is sort of another version of this conversation,
Mhm.
and
Okay.
in that sort of non I'm not willing to conform to the
Mhm.
nonsense of sort of the conversation.
Realism, what's that,
Realism, I wanna talk about the
yeah.
real world and all these things. Um, Jordan Peterson is a realist trying to work things out, and he's trying to give a fair interpretation to the world that we're living in.
Mhm, mhm,
Granted,
mhm.
what we're living in is this
Maybe I do know him.
yeah, it's this very amorphous sort of thing. And and a lot of the things that Jordan says are wonderful. And I would literally say that like I agree with him. I agree with him as like a jumping off point,
Mhm.
as the place to begin. what you start to get into are the things that Jordan can accept. The idea that really, ultimately, we are all a one consciousness, and we are all unique mathematical equations of this one consciousness. And that through that interpretation, we need to kind of come to a common ground that we need to love ourselves.
Right.
We need to care about each other as an individual, because all of these things lead to sort of the balancing
Right.
of that godly individual.
Yeah. Kerry says he doesn't espouse spirituality, but I would argue that his work is deeply spiritual.
Yeah, no. You're absolutely right, Kerry. His work is deeply spiritual, but it does come from like sort of a place of agnosticism. Like he doesn't want to quite get into that conversation. But if he was a little bit more open to that conversation, he would just take a couple steps forward, and that couple steps forward would be like, "Hey, look, I understand this other side of the coin. And I'm coming from this side of the coin, which is really rooted in a non-emotional perspective of things.
Right.
And then the emotional perspective of things brings me into a alignment with everybody's perspective of everything."
Right.
And he's great. Somebody worth looking up and listening to his Jordan Peterson. It's funny, Jordan Peterson, I would say, expounds sort of the right-wing version of things. He's somebody that's about working for things. He's just somebody about taking your perspective and turning it into something of value. Sometimes the left wing version of things can be very sort of bleeding heart and like, I feel bad for everybody. But everything has to be sort of in balance with, I feel bad for everybody, and I want everybody to work for the things. I want everybody to work as much as I feel bad. I want to feel bad as much as everybody works. And then as that comes together, we have an individual respect for one another. And granted, not everybody necessarily plays into this. Some people.
It seems so easy, it really does. But listen, it's
You talk for a
9:30.
second, I'll be right back.
Yeah, it's 9:30. I called Jesse on Monday. I said, "Hey, what do you want to do this week?" He said, "You know what? I want to do a show about meditation." So I kind of assumed he was probably going to do a guided meditation, but over the couple of days we spoke, he may do that, or I may do that. But I know there's a couple of people here, Steve, who probably was interested in seeing what we were going to do. And really, what I wanted to do, and just like the live stream is always about, is kind of explain some simple things that people that are like blocks. People just, oh, I didn't look at it that way. And so one of the biggest misconceptions that I would say I see about meditation is I can't stop the thoughts. I can't clear my mind. And it's not what you're trying to do in meditation. And that's, I think, one of the biggest misconceptions. If you've heard the term mindfulness that's associated with meditation, it's actually being aware of everything at that particular moment, being aware of everything. So it's not shutting your mind down and not thinking of everything. It's being able to understand all of the things that are existing at that moment and letting them be, and understanding your place in that moment, which is why you close your eyes, which is why you concentrate on your breath, the different techniques to get there. But again, even before you close your eyes and start to concentrate on your breath, you need to understand that you're not trying to shut your mind down. You're just trying to be aware of all of the things that are that are there. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, if I could continue that thought, and as we get into this, we're gonna bring you through a meditation. We'll probably just do like say 15 minutes or whatever. But meditation, as I came to understand it, was a lot of things. There were a lot of things that represented meditation, whether it was reading a book or watching a movie, talking to a friend, even. Um, there were certain things, you have the right friend, and to listen to them speak, it was a meditation. To sit and enjoy a program was a meditation. To listen to some music was a meditation.
Mhm.
Ultimately, meditation is whatever allows you to take a less active role in the creation of your reality. And, my brother and my mother, they both connected
In
to,
the 3D realm.
yeah, in the 3D realm.
Right.
They both connected to what you call transcendental meditation, TM. And actually, there was a moment where I felt very judged by transcendental meditation because what they were doing seemed so clear and proper, and I couldn't quite achieve what they were achieving.
Mhm.
When you get into transcendental meditation, they will give you
Or
a,
discipline.
yeah, exactly. They
Yeah.
will give you a what do you call it? A word or
Mantra.
a mantra. Perfect. Thank you. They'll give you a mantra,
Mhm.
and your mantra may be Om Vi or whatever it is, and you sit there and you're supposed to be sitting there meditating, going, Om Vi, Om Vi. And that may work for you. That may be wonderful for you. But for somebody like me, it was really hard. I was an ADHD person who hadn't been diagnosed that way, but
Mhm.
I saw my brother Cody diagnosed that way, and I was very much we were very similar in that level. Um, and I would sit there and try to go, and it would not be quite so easy for me.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, the idea of silencing my mind down to nothing. When I paint or crochet, I go to a absolutely, absolutely. You're talking to me about exactly what we're talking about. There are a lot of ways to get into meditation. And honestly, some of the greatest breakthroughs that I made as a meditator was as I was reading about meditation, understanding meditation, and I was riding the subway. I was riding the subway in New York City, and there would be, say, 5 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes, whatever, between me and my stop. And I had the option of sort of looking around at the train or sitting there, closing my eyes and breathing. And in these small gaps of sitting and connecting to my breath and breathing, I got some of my sort of deepest meditations. And then over time, in attempting to meditate, I got a lot of inspiration the same way I would get songs or the same way I would get story ideas. Instead, I got sort of ideas about how to meditate. And that it was easy for certain people to sort of go, I'm thinking about nothing. And it was difficult for certain people to
Mhm.
think about meditation and really silence their minds. But
Right.
for me to understand that the idea was to sort of quell myself down as much as possible,
Mhm. Mhm.
observe my thoughts as they came in,
Mhm.
and then, move on beyond it and just continue to sit and to sort of not allow myself to be distracted by the thing. Because it's
Right.
like,
Right.
in the inspiration will come in and you go, oh, I got to go do the thing. And then you
Right.
disappear, go do the thing.
Can I bust in? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
Finish.
please do.
This is where my meditation guide comes in. Who Stephen Durante, who I don't know if he's still watching, but he was a guide of mine, and he was amazing. And I would watch him, and I feel like I could guide a meditation. But one of the things that he did before the meditation was to sit and talk for a while about what we were going to do. So people just didn't sit there and like, oh shit, everyone's got their eyes closed. Everyone's, am I doing the right thing? So that everyone kind of understood where they were supposed to be. And the simplest explanation that he would use all the time is life and the hamster wheel. So the hamster wheel is, oh my god, I got to email this person, and then I got to go do this, and then I got to go do that, and then okay, oh, I got to go to meditation, and then when I'm done with meditation, then I got to go here. And so the thing about meditation is being able to intentionally get off of that hamster wheel and say, I'm not going to worry about what I have to email. I'm not going to worry about all of these things. They're still right next to me on the hamster wheel, but I'm going to get off the hamster wheel for a minute with intention to get off the hamster wheel for a minute. And the tools of breathing and those things help you focus on the moment that you're in without being on that hamster wheel. And that's That's really what meditation is like. And the thing is, you were at meditation with him already there. It was an hour, so you were going to be there for an hour, and he would just kind of, well, hey, just take the perspective of you're going to be here for the hour. You might as well let go of the emails and all of the things that you got worried and just listen. And the other thing that he would do is he would go around with, oh, I was going to get it and I forgot. Oils. What are they called? The natural oils, lavender and frankincense, and the different scented oils. That people use in diffusers, and they use in cooking, and they use in all sorts of ways. He would just put a little drop on your hand. You'd rub it together, and I would sit there and I would just close my eyes and I would breathe in the aroma, because some people don't like it, but I loved frankincense and white angelica. These are just amazing scents.
There's so many options. So I mean, honestly,
Yeah, and they were just
there's
easy.
always probably something that'll work for you.
They were just easy to connect to close your eyes and concentrate on the scent, feel that scent. You know what I mean? And then you would go from that, and he would say, concentrate on your breathing. Your breathing is just happening, but connect to it. Follow your breath in. Take the breath in. That's where you. And I'm not going to start the meditation. I'll let you
Yeah,
do it. But
honestly,
that's
when it comes to all these things, they're all just sort of plants and aspects of reality. Like, I smoked marijuana for a long time. Now that I have disconnected from a really consistent relationship with marijuana, I find that sort of the inhalation of sage or the inhalation the other day of Palo Santo, it really connects me to its own reality,
right.
because I'm so clean in general, for the various spirits, that I might inhale. Each one of them has a very subtle and powerful and powerfully impactive
Effect. Yeah,
connection
yeah,
that you may
yeah.
have. Smell is a real strong connection to memory, which is really amazing. Um, and it's interesting because it took me reading a lot of reading about Buddhist monks and Tibetan monks and various enlightened people
Mhm,
that got me to the point where I remember my ex-wife and my kids were going away for the weekend.
mhm.
And I said to myself, I was like, I see all these experiences that these Tibetan monks are having. I dedicate tomorrow to meditating for as long as it takes to have some sort of
Right. I
experience,
remember the story. Yeah,
some
yeah.
sort of connection to the infinite, right?
Mhm,
And as I did that, say like the next morning, on Saturday, they leave on Friday, and on Saturday, I get down and I start to meditate. And the most powerful aspect of my meditation was accepting the idea that I might be there for hours. I
mhm,
accepted that notion. By accepting that notion, I was ready to be there for hours. And it took, let's say, 3 or 4 hours before I started to have a Kundalini awakening or
mhm.
something began to happen. But it was in that acceptance of what I was getting myself into, of like, I don't care how long it takes for my mind to give up
Mhm.
on trying to spin this hamster wheel forward. Is what you were
Right,
saying
right, right, right,
as well. But I'm going to sit here until that happens and I get some results.
right.
And when I sat there, let's say for 4 hours, whatever, I had a Kundalini awakening. That led me to an inspiration of how, if I sort of could convince my mind that I was about to sit somewhere for an extended period of time, that would
Could go to that
me
state.
off, yeah, it would get me off of that time.
Right.
It's really hard. Like, even when you say, like, I'm going to sit here for half an hour and I'm going to meditate. Okay. Well, like, your mind has like kind of an idea of what a half an hour is like.
Mhm.
It was like, I have a number 149. It's a lucky number for me. I wrote a song. If anybody heard my last album that I put out, called 149, and it could represent a lot of the things, the speed and whatnot, the time of night, the time of day. But 149 was a very perfect number for me to count my breaths in meditation,
Mhm.
because it was a big enough number that I couldn't quite ascertain how long it would take me to
To do
breathe
149 breaths.
149
Right.
times. So
Right.
149 times, it would make my soul sort of give in to the notion that I was going to be there for a while,
Right.
and I didn't know
And that
exactly.
allowed you to get into that state. Right.
Exactly.
It's great.
And honestly, like I think we're going to talk for just a few more minutes, but that's going to be what I'm going to try to have us do as we do a meditation. I'm going to count our breaths for 149 times to see how long it's going to take, and it might take us just sort of an hour and 15 minutes, something like that. And this is just an approximation, but sort of the idea that we might be able to trick our minds into figuring out something that we could relax into, to sit here for a moment and agree that we'll be in meditation for a moment. That is the moment when your mind starts to stop preconceiving
Right.
what things may be. And when you stop your preconception, that's when you get into a moment of rest where you're like, all right, I
Right.
can't preconceive, so I'm just going to sit here until I get to that point.
I'm trying to find some music to see if I could put it on and see if
Oh,
it'll
that would
work.
be great. Yeah.
Tell me if this is coming through.
Yeah. Hear that? All right. So before we get into this, and I know this is going to be hard for a lot of people. I'm an ADHD sufferer. The idea of sitting there in stillness, oh my God, it was really difficult for me for a long time. Um, but we're sitting here, and I'm trying to tell you, want to sit here beyond what you're used to, beyond what you're really comfortable with. And as thoughts come about, we're going to forgive ourselves. Okay. The idea is that we're sitting here and we don't want any thoughts to come, or we just have stillness. It can be difficult. It can be difficult for anybody who's never tried this before. And when those thoughts come in, I want you right now to commit to total forgiveness, a total, it's okay. This is what I'm used to. I have pre um, conditioned myself to want to keep things forward. And there we go. This is exactly what I wanted to talk about, right? So the other day, I had an amazing healing experience with my family. I had my mother come out and put her hand on my heart and give me a hug and tell me that it was okay to be weak. It was okay to be weak. That I was strong, but it's okay for me to be weak. I had my brothers and my sister and their spouses come out to tell me it was okay to experience the pain that I was feeling, the things that were making me want to rush ahead. Because largely it tends to be pain and suffering and fear that makes us want to move ahead. We want to move ahead because we don't want to feel this thing from yesterday that was making us hurt. And I had my whole family there helping to sort of calm me down. But it is the feeling of these things in proper measurement. Oh, I feel that pain and it's okay. It's okay that I feel the pain, but it's all right. I'm going to heal from this. I'm going to move forward from this. I'm going to learn from this, and I'm going to move on. We have a tendency to sort of race out in front of the experiences that we have that feel like, I don't know, I can't wrap my head around it. I can't calm down about that. That thing makes me want to freak out. But it's the acceptance of, I understand this experience makes me feel bad. I feel those feelings. I don't like to feel those feelings, but I do feel them. And they're okay. They're okay. And I'm going to allow myself to calm back down to this. You know, my my mother and my father teaching me strength sort of led me to this place of sort of learning a way to calm down. And I think people who don't get taught that, they get overwhelmed by their they feel bad. Feel bad because they focus too much. But in the middle is an acceptance of the things as we're experiencing, things that have come forth to guide us, and finding that balance is the thing. And the best metaphor, honestly, that I can give for this thing, um, my my brother Shane's beautiful wife Abby, she was directing me sort of through, and I brought this to another level. But she wanted me to breathe 1, 2, 3, and then she wanted me to stop at the top of that breath, to hold in that breath, and then to let it go. 1, 2, 3. And then my intuition wanted me to hold at the bottom. 1, 2, 3. Now, what this is teaching us is sort of a gratitude in our breathing, a gratitude in our taking, right? As we breathe in, we're pulling in, we're taking, right? We're taking from the universe. And at the top of that breath, as we hold our breath for just a moment, 1, 2, 3, or even just one, it doesn't matter. We're having an appreciation for what we took. And then as we let go, 1, 2, 3, we're going up a hill as we breathe in, and then we go down a hill as we breathe out. And what's the thing that you notice about, like, let's say we're on a bike, right? And we ride up the hill. Riding up the hill takes a certain amount of effort, correct? As we get to the top of the hill, we have a perspective of the top of the hill. We can look around and we see the top of the hill. We go, oh, wow, look at this beautiful, bounty of the top of the hill. Look at the clouds. Look at the sun. Look at this perspective that we have at the top of the hill. But now, as we go down the hill, right, you don't have to pedal. You coast. You coast down the hill. You coast down that hill. It's easy. It's easy. Half of what we do when we're breathing, half of what we do in life is easy. We ride down, and then we get down to the bottom of the hill, and we stop our bike, and we look around, and once again, from this exhale, we appreciate. Look at this. Look at this wonderful thing. All right, I'm going to go up the hill. And now we pedal. We pedal up the hill. Gets us to a place, and then from up the hill, we appreciate what's up the hill. And now we go down the hill, and it's easy. And we get down to the bottom of the hill, and we appreciate the bottom of the hill. And there's sort of 4 things that go on, and 2 of them are actions that we take. We take the action to appreciate. We have to take the action to appreciate the top of the hill. And it took us a little bit of action to get to the top of the hill. We had to breathe. We had to pedal up that hill, and we had to stop everything to appreciate the top of the hill. But the bottom of the hill, the going down the hill, it's just easy. It's just given to us. Oh man, the wind is in our face. We're enjoying coming down from the top of the hill. And then we get to the bottom of the hill, and we just rest there for a second to appreciate this journey that we've taken. And then we choose to start climbing up the next hill. And then we choose to stop at the top of the next hill and appreciate the top of that hill. And then we let ourselves go down the hill, and we let ourselves appreciate the bottom of the hill. And if we're talking about meditation, this is meditation. Meditation is just getting into this really, really simple aspect of our lives as we make an effort to pull in our breath and to appreciate the top of the hill. And then we have no effort involved in letting out that effort and appreciating the bottom of the hill. I know, Michael, you have a bunch of things to say about this. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And maybe we'll get into a guided meditation after.
I was kind of like just meditating along with what you were saying. I was breathing in and breathing out. One of the other things I think about the breath that's important and something that you can focus on when you're breathing is, first of all, is that you don't have to do anything to make it happen. It happens. You're just bringing awareness to it happening. And another thing that a lot of people say that really resonates with me when you're meditating is, like you were saying, Jesse, when you're breathing in, you're kind of taking, and you want to almost like imagine, and you want to, through intention, take the good things right in, and take them in. And even though you're taking it in through your lungs and your nose, I've heard people talk about, and this also works for me, imagine if your feet are on the ground, or if your butt's on the ground and you're sitting Indian style, that you're also taking it in through the earth. You're taking that oxygen in through your earth, through the earth. um, Once you get to the top, again, some people like to hold that breath and just kind of appreciate that moment, and then let it out. But here's the thing that also I want to add is, letting out that energy, or letting out that breath rather, is also with intention. You can say, I'm letting go of the things that don't serve me anymore, things that I don't need, bad thoughts, bad, that fight that I had with someone that's still lingering in my head in energetic form. Whoosh, breathe that out. Let go of that shit. You don't need to hold it up here in energetic form. So that's something that I wanted to add to the breathing. Breathe in love. Yes, she says it. Breathe in love. Release all that doesn't serve me.
Yeah,
Exactly right. And that's kind of a mantra too that you think in your head as you're doing it.
yeah, and I think as a child, you have this, non-prejudiced sort of idea of things, and that at a certain point, you start to take on prejudice, and that prejudice becomes, "This is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad." You know, as a child, you sort of like, "Well, this makes me feel bad, and I'm gonna get rid of it, and this makes me feel good, and I like that, and then this ma," and then at a certain point, you start to go be like, "Well, these are the things that are making you feel bad," and you're like, "Oh, fuck those things, and, I like these things, and I don't like these things, and I like these things, and I don't like these things." Those
Right.
things, they shape the idea of, like, this universe that you're living in. Um, but it is all one. It is all the dualistic system, and it all's very individualized to who you are and the way you're personally interpreting things. So it doesn't really matter, what it is that is the negative or whatever. But you start to become a repository of these things that you think are sort of bad. You're like collecting them.
Right.
You
Right.
collect them like you're like, a geek for sports cards or a geek for comic books, and you're gonna keep all these cards and you're gonna keep all these comic books. Um, it's an ebb and flow, you know, and each one of those things is meant to let you know, not meant for you to carry for all time.
Right.
So you take them in and you go, okay, what does this mean? And what does this teach me? And
And
you
you know
move on.
what? And I think we all experience growing up, and maybe we're not. It's just a matter of not realizing that you're actually meditating. But when something makes you angry, and they're just like, breathe in and count to 10, right? That's a form of meditation. You're letting go that moment. That's what it's meant to do. And we all know that it can work. It's not always easy to be disciplined enough to, okay, I'm going to take a minute here and I'm going to breathe. But when you take a minute and you're like,
And Michael, if you let me, um, I will leave, and you feel free
yeah,
to join in
no,
if
no,
you.
go for it.
But let's take a moment to meditate here. And now again, like, we're just gonna say 149. We're gonna take 149 breaths. And largely, this is designed to just put your mind at ease and to go, hey, look, give up. Give up on the counting, give up on the moment. It's gonna be as long as it is gonna be. And there's no need for you to interfere. Now, if your mind brings forth ideas, brings forth energy, anger, it's all good. Experience those moments, process that energy, feel whatever you need to feel, but know that ultimately you're getting back to this meditation. And that's the idea. The idea is that we're having a very steady flow of even consciousness. And no matter what it is that might come up, you're going to return to this even consciousness. And this even consciousness is going to be even long enough for no matter what it is that you might think, that you're going to come back to that center. So, as we get into this, we're going to close our eyes and we're going to begin to breathe a nice big breath. And we're going to try not to make these breaths super conscious breaths. It's about I've breathed out as much as I can. And now naturally, I breathe in. What I've found when it comes to sort of the TM, they'll give you a mantra, and maybe your mantra is but you might sit there going like, well, how long am I going to do this mve? Well, to pick a number to say 149, I'm already on 3, right? It's going to be a while. I'm going to be here a while, and I'm going to be thinking of this mantra or just counting my breaths. And now maybe I'm up to 5. But now you see 5, and we're going to 149. Give up already. Just enjoy the breathing. So you breathe out. And you breathe in. And you let your body respond. You let your shoulders relax and your chest relax. You try to allow your body to move with the breath, because breath is very, very central to your physicality. So whatever it is, breath number 7 for me. But we're breathing 149, so just give up. Just give up and relax. And continue your breath. You don't have to count. I'm going to count for you. That's a nice thing. YouTube has many meditation guides that you can find. Nice thing about them is you put on a meditation guide, you go, they're going to do all the mental work for me. I don't have to sit here and think about it. I'm just going to follow the teachings that I found. Just breathe. And if thoughts come in, it's okay. You're not mad at yourself. You haven't done anything wrong. Just breathe out. And breathe in again. So much of meditation is getting over the scorn that we tend to have for ourselves. Just breathe out. It's okay that you have this apprehension about various things. It's okay. You just say it's all right. And breathe in again. And breathe out again. It's like counting sheep, if anybody's ever tried to count sheep. Except we're sitting here going, we're not going to bed. We're just trying to put to bed our thoughts. The specifics of our life, the specifics of this moment, doesn't matter. We breathe all those out. And we breathe in the prana. The prana, sort of the gift of the universe. Have you ever heard that term, the prana? And we breathe out that prana. I'm on 11 now. But again, 11's nothing compared to what we're going to do. So just give up. And I'm going to start to be quiet now as we get into 12. just breathing. But we're not forcing our breath out. We're not forcing our breath in. We're just breathing. We're counting those breaths. 13. 14. If I was doing this by myself. I'm going to get even more quiet now. The top. The bottom. Now, there's no wrong answer as you breathe. Your breathing may bring up all sorts of thoughts, all sorts of ideas about yesterday, about today, about the people in your life. And that's okay. The biggest problem that we all have is thoughts come in and then we judge those thoughts. And we sort of halt our breath as we're experiencing these feelings. We stop ourselves. from fully realizing these thoughts. And we judge them and we judge ourselves. I was hit by a car when I was 11. And my first thought was my mom was going to be so mad at me. And I stopped myself from processing all of the pain and the experience that came from being hit by an SUV at a yellow light. They were trying to make it through this light, and I was trying to get across the street. And these two wills, the will of them trying to make this light, the will of me trying to cross the street, came into alliance, but not in an alliance of peace, an alliance of perseverance. Of they're going to make it through this light, I'm going to make it through this street. And those two wills crossed each other, and they prevented us from breathing. And I met up once again against my mother's thought that she was going to prevent me from getting hit by a car, warning me that I may be hit by a car. And then this lady's idea that she was going to make it through the world driving and she wasn't going to get into a car accident. But now she did. She hit me coming across the street as she was trying to cross this path to turn at this yellow light. And we're in our 40s and we don't, it's too much of our breathing. We're going to breathe here for a moment, so we got to give up, just give up and breathe. Because that's what I need to do. I need to breathe in and appreciate the top of that breath. Life is good. Here we go. I've got my breath, the breath of life, and I'm all right. And now I breathe out that breath of life. And I'm so glad for all of the things that this breath of life produces. All the human beings, all the animals, all the plants, this planet. As I breathe in, I breathe out. The moment we hold that breath in and we don't let it out, the moment we're selfish, we think we need to hold in this breath. We need to keep it because we might not get it again. No, that's all folly. That's the fool's journey. We will get it again. We'll come back again. We are one with all things, and all things will come back to greet us. And we give up on this breath as we get into the 40s of our breath. And these breaths, the counting of these breaths, are just meant to trick us so that we give up. We breathe out. And we're not afraid of death. We know that life will come along again. And we breathe in again. I'm going to get quiet again as we continue our breaths. And it doesn't have to be this long thing that we sit and we take 10 minutes or 15 minutes or a half an hour. We can be on the subway. We can be on the train. We can be on the bus. We can be in our car. And we can breathe in and we can breathe out. And we connect to this chain up the hill, at the top of the hill, down the hill, at the bottom of the hill, climbing the hill, at the top of the hill, down the hill. There's no effort. In silence. As I bring us out of this meditation, I bring you over to Michael, who I know has things to share with us. This was all a trick. I didn't bring us to 149 breaths. I brought us to like about 60 breaths. But it's about the idea of tricking yourself to reconciling to the idea that you may be in a place for a long time and that it's okay. It's okay to relax for a long time. And accepting that you're going to relax for a long time. That you bring yourself into sort of the peace of meditation, what meditation really is. That you could take a break and you can feel okay about it. Whatever you need to do to bring yourself into peace with the idea that you can take a break, that it's okay. It's okay if you take a break for a long time. That is what meditation is all about bringing you to that center of it. It's okay to slow down. It's okay to make peace with the moment. And as you do that, you really bring yourself in to your true center, which is this quieter time where I listen to Michael and I let him say what he has to say. Both of our microphones got turned off somehow. Turn on your microphone, Michael. What I was saying was,
Sorry.
as you get into this moment and you realize this peace that you have, understand that it's okay to take a break for a moment, and that taking a break for a moment, there's no judgment, nothing's wrong. We have this idea that we have to be on top of everything for so long in this world. And it's true. There's some truth to the idea that you have to be on in the 3D world. But when you come into meditation, whether you're on the train, on a subway, just taking a moment for yourself to connect to your breath, to go inside, to go internal, the idea that I've counted 149 breaths, that whole idea is about making my mind give up on thinking about things so that I can get to a place of peace where I say, it's okay for me to relax for a moment and to fall into the natural rhythm of this reality. And ultimately, the natural rhythm is you breathe and you go up the hill, and then at the top of the hill, you take an appreciation. You go down the hill, and you have an appreciation for the journey that you just took, and then you do it again. So, Michael, what do you have to say about this?
So you can hear me now. I turned your mic off because when my mic's on, I'm hearing the music. It gets an echo. So one of the things Courtney said that was amazing and felt so good. And she also said, I saw a cloud covering a sky of rainbows. So one of the things you can do in your practice in meditation is when you close your eyes is called visualization. And that helps a lot of people bring them to that calm point where they're just focused on their breathing. And you can actually imagine yourself walking through a field. You can imagine yourself sitting on a beach, um, wherever your most comfortable place is, wherever you feel the most relaxed. That's what you want to imagine. And visualization is a great tool in meditation. It's also used in past life regression, and some other things that you're getting into this meditative state and you're actually reaching another level of existence when you're closing your eyes and you're shutting out the 3D world. Everything is inside. You're now inside your own mind, inside your own thoughts, inside your own universe, inside of you. Angela said she started to doze off, which is okay. I feel like dozing off while you're meditating is you're not really dozing off. You're going into that deeper REM state. You're getting deeper into the meditation, but you're aware because when everybody else around you comes out, you come out as well. So Jesse, I had to mute you just because. Oh, I didn't. You're not muted. The when you speak and the music's on, it sounds weird. So I mute myself when you talk, and now I'm talking, so you're muted. But that was really great. That was very relaxing. One of the things that I found great about a guided meditation is giving me something to focus on. So Steve, as I was saying, Steve was my guide. I'd be able to focus on his voice, and that's exactly what he did. He would guide me through the process of following my breath, imagining what was there. And the truth is, every time you close your eyes, you see something different. Sometimes you see infinite amount of stars. Sometimes you see colors just randomly in gaseous clouds forming in front of you. Sometimes you see those intense patterns, the flower of life and some sacred geometry. You start to see those really insane fractals. And then when you squeeze your eyes really tight, you get, it's almost like light is happening. So there's a whole universe inside your mind, and that's what meditation is all about. Ninja Kitty said she absolutely loves this and needed it. Thank you. That's the one of the greatest things about meditation that I've experienced is every time I go to a group meditation, there is more than one person who always is like, "Wow, this was for me. I was called here for a reason. I was meant to be doing this." Um, so meditation is a great practice, um, to do specifically, intentionally in a circle with people sitting down. But as Jesse was talking about earlier, it's also great to know that, hey, I'm going to do something that I love. I can get into that meditative state. Sunshine was saying she crochets and she gets into a meditative state. You're in the flow. You're just connected to the universe. You're connected to what you love to do. And that's the best.
I play with action figures and I get into a meditative state. I listen to music at the gym and I get into a meditative state. I used to when I lived in New York, I would ride on the subway and I would get into a meditative state.
Yeah.
There are so many ways to go about this, and none of them are wrong. And there's a little bit of arrogance, and I don't mean to judge, people, but there's a little bit of an energy of arrogance that I sometimes see that comes from TM, transcendental meditation, because the way people are taught is that this is the only way to do it. It's one way to do
Yeah,
it.
that's a little, yeah, that's a little
It's one way to do it. There are many ways to do it, and many
right.
people are predisposed to other ways.
Steven Durante would tell me all the time that when he needed to, he would actually Stephen Durante plays saxophone for that 70s band, which is a huge band here out on Long Island. They travel around the country a bit, but they're huge. And there's like 10 people on stage, and there's always a huge crowd of people dancing. They just bring the good vibes and the good times everywhere. But Stephen Durante would tell me when he needed it, he would be able to be on stage in the middle of a set and bring himself to a meditative state just in his brain, just knowing how to do it. And he would just breathe, let it out. He would look around. I'm sure he was feeling gratitude at that moment for what he brought together, what his intention with learning how to play saxophone brought to that moment. That whole room of people there listening to the music, having that great time, all from him deciding he wanted to play the saxophone.
And I believe that there are sort of like parameters for everybody. And it's a really interesting scenario. Depending on your parameters, and it's a weird thing to think, but there are certain people whose parameters are small, and it's easier for them to sort of find their way to that equilibrium.
Mhm.
And then there are other people whose parameters are larger. It's
Interesting.
a little harder for them to find their way to that equilibrium. And then there are those whose parameters are really big. And these are the people who become heroin addicts and, addicted to various substances because they're trying to find an equilibrium, but it's so difficult for them because
Right.
for them, this parameter is really, really difficult.
Difficult, yeah.
Yeah.
Angela says, it's good when you can ignore burning chronic pain. I'm glad we could help you with our meditation,
Oh,
Angela.
that's so wonderful to hear.
That is-
And yeah, and absolutely. I mean, this is the type of thing, where you can get to a place of stillness. And the reason why I wanted to talk about it like this and help you, I suffer from chronic pain. I got hit by a car when I was a young child. I played contact sports my whole life, and I've dealt with a lot of pain. Today I'm really dealing with a lot of lower back pain. I literally took a nap in the middle of the day because sitting here at my desk, it was too much for me. And at a certain point, I went, "Oh God, I can't think." And I went and I laid down. I took an hour nap. Um, and I came and I sat down before we did our little interview and whatnot. And to be able to sit and meditate and basically to concentrate on other things, to concentrate on open ended ideas, allowed me to put aside that chronic pain for this past half an hour and allowed me to get to a point of peace with everything that I'm thinking and everything that I want, and to really come into my own.
Mhm.
It's very difficult, with so many people. Everybody's dealing with their own sort of thing,
Mhm.
but to come into this ideation that at the end of the day, everything is this breathing. This idea we take things in, we let things go, and at the top there's an appreciation, and at the bottom there's a rest. At the top, there's an appreciation for what we took, and at the bottom, there's a rest. There's the oblivion, and then the oblivion takes things in, and then it appreciates, and then it lets things out. It
Mhm.
takes a rest. That little four-part cycle is what we're getting into every time we meditate. And it is there for everybody, whether they're reading a book or watching a TV show, listening to music, just taking a little break. It's always there. And it can really help everybody with their pain, help everybody in their suffering, because their suffering and their pain comes from essentially accepting paradigms. I accept that I hurt my back and now my back hurts, you know? To
What
get
kind of reality is that?
I know, and to get away from that and to get back to this, I am the nothing and I
Right,
pull
right,
in
right.
the something, I appreciate the something, I let go of the something, and I take a rest. That is the primary reality for everybody, right?
Totally.
Who's out there in the universe, and this is what we wanted to give to you today,
Yeah.
as we spoke about meditation. Obviously, we're getting past our normal time for
Oh,
wrapping
wow,
up.
look at that, 10:30.
But,
Oh, wow.
Michael, what do you have to say in terms?
Yeah, before we wrap it up, or as we wrap it up, I just want to offer some tools and some observations, which is, I don't know how it sounded out there in the world of listening and viewing, but the music that I put on, um, I'm just going to share this webpage. It's easy to find, and there's two different things that I'm going to recommend, and that's different megahertz of music. So you see this one here, it says. Hold on, let me use my mouse. Here we go. 900 963 hertz, or different vibrations, different tones. That's good music to listen to, as well as something called binaural beats. If you could see up here at the top, binaural beats. I would listen to the different tones, the megahertz, as I went to bed, and it was very easy to fall asleep and be relaxed and listen to this music. And then somebody told me something about binaural beats, and I put the binaural beats on, and there's something mathematical about the construction of the chords and the frequencies that they're using that triggers something in your brain. I don't know what the scientific definition is, but I will say that there is no doubt when I started listening to binaural beat music to go to sleep, my dreams started getting much more lucid, and I was going way further out there, and remembering it. So I just wanted to offer that up as tools to, for meditation, and just also for a happier life. Like I said, I was listening to this music for a couple of years as I went to bed, and then when I got into this heavy metal band that was like all anger and this energy that I didn't like, it was hard for me to play it, because this other music is just so nice. It's the kind of music that you hear when you walk into a wellness center. It's just this ambient, angelic tones, and so that's all I have to say. That's a tool for meditation, other than the other things that Jesse spoke about. Um, again, I am so happy that we had the feedback that we did. Thank you guys for receiving the energy that we put out there on a regular basis with the live stream, and then specifically with this meditation. It looks like we actually touched a couple of you, which I cannot tell you how much happiness that brings me and how that makes me feel. So,
Yeah, yeah, and adding to that, my girlfriend, who I love so deeply, she hurt her back, her lower back, and my lower back is a bit of an issue right now. And coincidence? I think no. Um, you know, she had sort of like fused her vertebrae in her back a little
mhm,
while ago. And I do something, I've done it on and off throughout my adult life as I become more spiritual. I call it the Tibetan Five Rites, which you can look up online. And it's
mhm.
just sort of five simple moves that you can do like 5 to 7 times. I should do it 21 times each, spinning. And then it's a lot of just sort of like simple yoga for the neck and the back. And I'm trying to get her to do these things because she's got a lot of stiffness in her lower back. And what I want from her, for her to get out of this, is to get used to the movement so that this movement is no longer hurting her. It's no longer a a fear when she gets into these positions because she's proactively making these moves
Tensing up. Right.
day to day. She's doing this on purpose. So to do it on purpose every day is to get rid of the fear of when she's accidentally sort of put herself in this position where she's straining her lower back. I want her to sort of consciously get into this um, passage of just simple neck movement and back movement. And it can be really hard and difficult as an outsider looking in, going, "Oh, no, 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 I hurt my back in that way, and I don't want to do that anymore." But it's you hurt your back in that way, and that behooves you to enter into that pain state and try to change your mind about how that feels, about what it is you're doing, and to give a new idea. And this is really just a metaphor for the idea of just slowing down and meditating for a moment, because we've all been conditioned to move from one thing to the next thing, the next thing, the
Right.
next thing, the next thing. It's so hard for me to
I was
slow.
gonna say we gotta get a yoga person on because and I know it's like we're at 10:30, but yoga was actually developed as a way to prepare for meditation, believe it or not. So it was like you would do yoga before you would meditate. You would think it would be the other way around,
Yeah,
but yoga is, and also I feel like yoga is a form of meditation. People can get
it
into meditation.
absolutely is. And for me, I know a lot of our viewership is female. But I know we got a lot of tough ladies out there, like me, like I'm kind of a tough lady. I'm
You
very
are a tough lady.
I'm very feminine, when it comes to my insides, but I've been taught this real strong exterior. And DDP Yoga, which is Diamond Dallas Page, he's a wrestler. He introduced this yoga. This is meant to be yoga for men. And but it's very helpful, to that ideology of people who've been taught to be really strong,
Mm,
because it's like this muscle guys yoga. Yoga is just sort of breathing into your muscles and, giving a little space and a little peace into this sort of idea of slowing down. And that's all meditation. Meditation is just sort of slowing down. We're living in this super, super fast world. And if we could just get our minds right with making peace with the moment, making peace with where we're at, and getting into an equilibrium between living our lives, which tends to be really fast paced, and um, peace within, okay, I'm going to take a break for a moment. We have this tendency of like, it's like we're being chased by the tiger and we're going to stop. And we get to a certain point, we're like, okay, 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 I'm running again. That's not the answer. The actually making peace is going,
right.
it's okay. that center, the idea that to make peace with rest, it's really hard to make peace. I literally had a nightmare yesterday about being late. Like I've been trying to wake up at 8:30 every morning. I woke
Mhm.
up at 8:30 on Monday, and then on Tuesday I had a nightmare about oh, no, no, sorry. On Tuesday I woke up late, and then on Wednesday this morning, or no, so yesterday morning, I had a nightmare about waking up late. And literally, I like thought I had woken up late, and I had like had this whole like sort of like
The
dream
day was going on, right?
woken up late, and then
Right.
all of a sudden my alarm clock went off at 8:30, and I woke up at the right time, and I'm like, holy shit! I just had a nightmare about waking up at the wrong time.
Right.
And this demonstrates to me just how sort of beholden we are to this notion of
Right.
the times that we're supposed to
But it
be.
gave you a chance to do it over and
Yes,
not wake up late.
some peace about it.
Yeah.
And like, and this morning, like I woke up more peaceably and
Right.
had a more reasonable reaction to, the time that I wanted to wake up. But, this is the idea. We're like, oh, I'm going to go take a break for myself and I'm going to breathe. And we end up freaking out the whole time we're sitting there breathing because we're like, well, I have things to do.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Right.
things to do is to get yourself right. Until you're loving yourself right, until you're making peace with the moment, you cannot love your children right. You cannot love your family right. You cannot love your
Till you
friends.
love yourself, right? That's true.
If you really truly love your children, and honestly, this has been the thing that's been driving me the most. My son Grayson, he's my third child. He is the most like me, the most like me. And I have just said to myself, oh my God, I have to make peace for him. I have to make peace for him because if I don't make peace with myself, then he's not going to know what peace
Mhm.
looks like. If you don't make peace for yourself, the
Wow.
people around you will never know the peace.
So get it together, man.
Yeah, exactly. And just get it together. Get it together. I need to make peace for Jess
You're making
because
peace.
if I don't make peace for
You
her,
do make
then
peace.
my son Grayson is never going to know how to make
I
peace.
love that. That's a great
And I
realization.
want them to have that.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
want your children to have that which has been escaping you for most of your lives.
Right. That's a great way to end the night, and it's awesome. Listen, this was a lot of fun, man. I'm glad we did this meditation. I feel like, especially without preparing it or doing anything other than knowing that we could. So we did. That was awesome. I mean, we should do it more for these
Oh,
people.
Janet and Angela, your comments are so felt. Please keep up
Yes.
the good work, guys.
Yes.
Don't lose faith.
Yeah.
And think of it. You know what, Michael, this is you, man. You said this to me. Um, Early, when you and I had really connected as friends, you said to me, you said that we're supposed to love ourselves as much as we love our children.
Mhm.
And when you said that to me, it broke my heart because I realized in an instance that I loved my children like this, and I loved myself not so well. And
Yeah.
when you pointed that out to me, I went, wow, he's right. The same way that we love God, if we want to make ourselves super spiritual or super religious, I love God, I love Jesus. You're supposed to love yourself like you love Jesus. You're supposed to love yourself like you love God. You're supposed to love yourself the way you love your kids. And when he said that to me, that was what I needed to hear because I love
Yeah.
Jesus, but sort of intellectually. I love God,
I'm
but
so
sort of
glad that meant something to you because I mean,
yes.
that really changed when I realized it. And I don't even have kids, but when I looked in the mirror one day and I said, I knew that I didn't feel that way. I was like, that's where you got to be. And
Well, and
I
you
feel like I'm there.
broke me into an infinite amount of pieces when you said
Wow.
that, and I went, "Oh my god," because
Wow.
I see the way I love my kids, and,
Right.
I love my son Cassidy, I love my daughter Logan, I love Parker, but Grayson, my 3rd child, it's not that I love
The
him.
reflection of you. No, he reflects you the most to you.
Reflection, he
Yeah.
reflects me the
Yeah.
most, and
Mhm.
I see him, and I see myself. And that one in particular, he really makes me go, oh my goodness.
Mhm.
Like if I don't figure out a way to love me,
Right.
how and why should
I
my
love that. I'm
child
so happy. That makes me really happy because
I
I love your energy with your kids, and I love your
love
kids.
him so much, and
Yeah.
I want him, I wish for him to love himself so much. I want him to infinitely feel that it's okay, that he's all one, and that you should just love the infinite thing that creates all the things, and that's you, and you should love you.
Same thing Janet just said. Same here when you told us love yourself like your kids. I had a wow. I never thought of that way. Thank you for showing me how to love myself. See, we're
Thank
making ripples, Jesse. We're making freaking ripples.
thank you, Michael. Thank you
And
for
on that note,
passing that
we
on to
love you all.
me.
Jesse, I love you, man.
I love you too. We're going to call this a day here, but recognize that this show, the live stream of consciousness, this came from me every week when I was at my lowest, going to powwow with one of my best friends, Michael Zinn, and for Michael to reflect his light back at me, and me to reflect my light back at him, and us to absorb each other's, where Michael sort of has this forgiveness that maybe I don't have. I have this sort of visceral love that maybe he doesn't quite have. And this visceral forgiveness and this visceral love come together, and I empower Michael's love, and Michael empowers my self-love and understanding of the way this thing is ebbing and flowing and polarizing back on itself. And this is what we hope to maybe give to an audience, give to people, and help people to understand themselves and to forgive themselves and to get to a place of peace. So thank you for joining us for another wonderful live stream of consciousness. Thank you for Michael,
We love you.
best friends, for joining me for another live stream of consciousness. And we hope that you'll join us next week on another fabulous live stream.
Live stream of consciousness. Peace.